get ready. The dates I'm going to introduce to you today, I'm very confident will indicate the start of the final leg of the bull run, or at least a leg in which we're all going to make some pretty serious money. The bubbles that have been kind of simmering to the surface for the bullish side of things, I think are beginning to pop, and I want to introduce to you a few of them today. Also, how you can actually benefit from all of this, because believe you me, when this market flips, it'll be 10 times more explosive than what we saw last year in October, where the market and many altcoins 2, 3, 4, 5 plus X, even high caps. You have to be ready for it, and if not, you can miss out on the opportunity of a lifetime. But again, the good news is, I believe money-making times are right around the corner. Now, one of these such bubbles coming to the surface was this. Goldman Sachs will launch 3 new tokenization projects by the end of this year. Now, this is very important because a few different factors I'll mention in today's video will line up to come towards the end of this year. I think we're in for a massive Q4 2024. Now, this is bullish, but what he says in this report actually is, in my opinion, possibly even more of a green flag. McDermott, who is the chief digital asset manager, says that BlackRock, along with similar funds like Franklin Templeton, targets the retail side of things, whereas Goldman Sachs, with these 3 funds, are focusing primarily on private blockchains for institutional use, which ultimately always does come back to the retail side of things. Business to business always ends up benefiting the basic customer at the end of the day. The bank's aim is to create actual marketplaces for tokenized assets, as well as delivering improvements when it comes to speed and the types of assets that can be used as collateral. This is important for us as retail and people looking to leverage projects like Ondo for their awesome features, because again, this is going to allow more projects like Ondo, or more features than projects like Ondo, to spawn. One is focused on the fund complex in the US, and the other is on debt issuance in Europe. Now, this is the important part. With the US presidential election and potential change in the government's regulatory approach towards crypto just a few months away, McDermott said the bank's opportunities in the space could expand, including being able to hold spot crypto assets. That is huge because there's currently regulations in place to prevent banks from actually holding custody of crypto assets as well. Now, I'm not going to get political. I don't care who you vote for. I'm not even living in the US. However, I think we can all universally agree that if Trump gets in, it's going to be a very positive thing for crypto. Now, like I said in the private community, which by the way, links down there you can access today, I don't think necessarily the Biden administration or anyone on that side of the fence, if they get it, I don't think it'll kill crypto. I think crypto will still do well, but I think it'll definitely be somewhat suppressed, kind of like we can draw comparisons to what COVID basically did for the crypto market in the last cycle. Also, more US bank good news, probably even bigger than Goldman Sachs, right? JP Morgan is actually predicting a turnaround for, well, guess what? Basically end of Q3, Q4 of this year. Crypto market rebound expected in August, liquidations to finish by end of July, says JP Morgan. Now, this report, they actually did talk about reducing their year-to-date net flow estimate from 12 to 8 billion, but that's because basically we've seen a whole bunch of liquidations and a reduction of Bitcoin on exchanges thanks to the Mt. Gox and Germany thing, as well as apparently, I didn't even realize this, but I think Gemini, it was also releasing some of their tokens. It might have been Gemini, it might have been Kraken, I can't quite remember. But either way, one of these top exchanges are also liquidating some of their positions. Now, I think, again, this is completely fine. And the overarching, I believe, sentiment here is that JP Morgan expects a flip in the market sometime in, again, late Q3, Q4 of this year. Keep that in mind. So far, with the election hopefully benefiting crypto in some way. I'm not going to get political. I know you guys want to take it there. With Goldman Sachs looking to leverage 3 tokenization funds by the end of this year, you can see what's forming. The end of this year looking very, very good. More recently, the CPI data came out that said, hey, we actually had a bit of a reduction. Okay, the forecast itself was 3.4%. Okay, pretty much moving sideways. We actually went down 3.3%. This is very good. Now, like they say, there was probably a little bit of a buy the rumor, sell the news event. So we really haven't seen the fruits of the labor. But this is typical when CPI reports come out. Typically, the best or worst happens before the actual event. And unless it's seriously bad, then we see something on the day. But either way, in my opinion, it's all fine. Okay, I think that, again, we're looking and moving in the right direction, which is the most important part. Now, let me tie all of this Q4 end of this year into what I believe is the most important thing that you have to know so far, which is typically quarter four of a bull run is very bullish. Bitcoin quarterly returns in quarter four, again, in a bull run is always substantially high. Yes, we do have some down. This is down because of the bear market. This comes off the back of a bull run. These down quarters, quarter four rather, happens after a very bullish quarter for the previous year or two. Okay, now also it does overlap as well into quarter one. So quarter four pushes into quarter one, which is typically very bullish as well. And the same, of course, for Ethereum, proving, again, it's not just a Bitcoin specific thing, it's also an Ethereum thing. And you can kind of see it broken down month by month over here. So August, September, October, I think we're in for a very good treat here with everything I also just said. Now, some of you are also panicking. I know I've brought this up in a few videos and I will continue to bring it up because I get new people watching the content that need to know about this, guys. I personally am not panicking. This green and blue line represents the previous two cycles. This orange line over here was the very first cycle. This one over here was, I believe, back in 2015. So we're talking about very, very two young cycles, not even really useful in terms of relying on old data. So the two previous cycles, we're actually tracking literally on the dot right now. The last three cycles, including this one, are all lining up. So to me, this is a very good sign. We're in the black, of course, okay? So where we end up, I don't know, but we do move sideways here until about September, maybe even don't really begin seeing huge gains until about early October. But again, this does fall in line with the chart I just showed you, okay? September, October, we begin seeing a slight change, at least we did last year. But again, the last 3 months, the last quarter is very bullish. JRMY Crypto, I think I brought this up in a few videos ago. He actually showed this chart here, which again, it's very, very basic. You barely even want to kind of use this as any sort of technical or fundamental analysis, but it is good to have a look at the search term, right? The trend in the topic of Bitcoin looks very similar to what it was back in about 2020-ish. And then we kind of went sideways for about 6 months. You can see comparatively where we are right now. And then we went off. Okay, now this is important because ultimately crypto is a speculation-heavy market. Now in a speculation-heavy market, all markets are pretty much speculation, but crypto definitely is. Most of these coins are meme coins at best, shit coins probably on average, right? This is important to gauge. This gauges overall interest. Not to mention as well, guys, remember, we have a wild card. We have the Bitcoin ETFs. We also have the Ethereum ETF, the S1. The final form's due. Probably going to come out sometime in the end quarter of this year. I mean, you can just see things are stacking up. Things are stacking up. We've talked about the CPI as well. As long as this continues to decrease, it's going to look even better and better for Bitcoin. Now, well, should I say crypto in general? One thing I don't see anyone else talking about as well is this, the minor capitulation chart. This is something important to look at because what minor capitulation is when the cost of mining Bitcoin, be that the expenses paid for electricity, these things suck electricity up, be it the actual warehouse storage, be it everything involved with it, it actually makes sense at a time where it doesn't become very viable for these miners anymore. Towards the end of a bull run, they begin selling, and it's called capitulation because if one miner starts selling, taking profits, then it becomes unviable for other guys as well, and it begins coming down. Usually the small miners start first, then the bigger ones come down. Now, I don't think we're going to see a massive capitulation this cycle. You can see that the capitulation event begins to reduce every single cycle, but comparing to where we are right now, even in the early cycle, we actually moved sideways a little bit after the halving. You can see moving sideways. Matter of fact, we actually trended downwards. This was a hot topic for a little bit as well. A few months ago, a lot of people were not comparing this chart per se, but talking about minor capitulation. But I think this chart exemplifies it the best because basically even in the last cycle, we've moved sideways for a couple months, 2-3 months. So I think we're probably going to see the bottom happen here, and then we'll probably begin going up, which of course means that the price of Bitcoin goes up. When miners aren't likely to sell in these big green moments is when the price of Bitcoin goes up. Therefore, of course, their balance sheets look better and they're not inclined to sell. Also, a much more controversial chart to look at is Plan B stock to flow model. This is, again, arguable because many people believe that it's not useful anymore. I'm not going to talk about that today, but I think to some degree it still plays an important part in just gauging things. We can see we're on the red over here, which means that we are now the furthest away from the next halving. Blue is the actual halving date itself, and this kind of works off the flow of new Bitcoins into circulation versus how much is obviously being held and bought up, basically, okay? And we were actually tracking close to the stock to flow line. You can see here in this orangey color. We've now peeled under, but again, this is very normal. We actually do move sideways for a little bit in the red. Okay, so this is very normal to the last cycle, actually very, very comparable to the last cycle. And then when we start to see an orange tick, we begin to really go up. So that's kind of what I'm waiting for over here, is for us to begin ticking into orange, which I believe will start to trend upwards. Now, again, the stock to flow model thinks that we're probably going to land somewhere around in this range, anywhere from like 350 to like 1 million Bitcoin. I don't think that's going to happen. I personally would definitely be considering like the top in at around 175 to 250K Bitcoin. But I don't like when people tell others that's when you should sell. If you're looking at one particular price like Bitcoin to judge when other coins are going to be a good time to sell, you're going to end up getting wrecked, because coins pump before Bitcoin and coins pump after Bitcoin. You should have very realistic and reasonable sell levels, which I will get to in just a moment. The last chart I want to show here is, again, the piece of resistance to kind of finalize everything I've been saying here, almost a little bit like just absolute word vomit, is this, the Bitcoin cycle repeat chart. Now, this kind of works hand in hand with the chart I was showing you before, this one over here on Glassnode. All we're pretty much doing is taking the previous cycle's 4-year cycle, okay, the price action, and then plotting it on the next 4 years. So we're taking this 4 years and plotting it over here. That's why we have the double top forecasted as well. But if we have a look, again, this is all in plan. Like last cycle, the same time we were right now, we were moving sideways. We actually even came down a little bit more. So again, whether we chop sideways here, like up, down, left, right, doesn't matter, all right? We know that eventually there's going to be a point in time, again, guess what? You can see bottom over here, turns out it's Q4, right? So October, November, December, this year. That is the key target, and that's what I'm about to say now. I think the key dates here for everyone to recognize is going to not even really be September. I think September we might see a shift, but mainly October, November, December. These are the 3 important months to consider. Now, what I'm personally doing is I'm going to be trying to buy crypto when I possibly can. Right now, I'm trying to actually stack stables a little bit to build some of my reserves up, because I have none right now. I've been investing like you guys the last 4.5 months as much as I possibly can. Stack some more, put some more money into the market when the time is right in the next month and a half, 2 months, and then expect us to begin moving up, after that. And then from there, I'm going to pull back. I'm going to let my portfolio and all my hard work do its thing. And I'm going to begin again picking up some cash. And then if there is a dip or if there is a micro cap I'm interested in, I'll be buying it then and there. Okay, at least I have some cash in the tank. Now, this sort of dip and this correction I've touched on in a recent video is all part of the whale's game, by the way, guys. They're trying to scare you. The market cannot flourish any other way. Literally, this is how it works. They need to convince the average crypto user. They need to convince anyone that got in over the last 4.5 months over here thinking, hey, this is all normal. We're going to have some down days. It's okay. I'm going to keep buying, blah, blah, blah. They need to convince you that it is all over. That is the whole idea here. So basically, you're convinced to sell in the red, which is where we pretty much have been recently, and you're going to panic. And then what they do is they buy, okay? They can then achieve their 10x goals much sooner. They get out of the market, let's just say much sooner over here, and you are stuck buying back up here, even if that's the same price you bought before. If you sold your tokens down here and you buy at the same price, it don't matter. A lot of you guys that sold would have lost money in this trade, maybe 20 to 30%, if not more, on some of your altcoins. Again, this is particularly those of you who haven't been in the market or know as much, unfortunately. And then you're stuck looking for a 20x, maybe before you were looking for a 10x, because that would have achieved your goals. But because you've lost money and now want to make that money back again, while you've incurred a loss, you now need to look for more multiples. And then you end up having to sell up here, have what seems to be realistic sell levels, but actually you didn't realize that, hey, I was actually screwed over intentionally. You don't realize this manipulation. And then your what seems to be realistic levels become unrealistic. You then fall out of what's very important here, the green zone. This is part of my bull run cheat sheet. If you guys want access to this again, it is in the private community for level 1 and above. You pretty much punch a project in over here and it'll give you the green zone for you. It'll populate and tell you where you should max be looking to get and the multiples in the max green zone. The gray zone as mentioned here, is a buffer for safety, and the red zone is the price prediction and 25% down. This is where you really don't want to be looking if you possibly can, because that's where the whales get you. That is a part of their plan. And also, I don't know how many times I have to say this, but please, for the love of everything I know and love, get yourself an exit plan. This is mine, again, available in the level 1 in the private community, but you don't have to use it if you don't want to. It's there for free for you guys, but go make your own. Track your entry levels, track your sell levels, and track each and every single one of your individual sell levels like I show you here with the sheet. That way, you got no questions. There's nothing in the air left for you to be stressed about at night. You can do what I do and sleep like a baby. Last of all, I do want to point out, as you can see here, that most of cryptocurrency, right, why most people are fearful is because of the market crashing and losing all of its value and not understanding it enough. These are the pretty much largest problems that people face, and I've addressed them in this video. If you do this, you organize all this and you set realistic targets and don't look for too much, okay, you're not going to worry about it possibly losing you value. Now, the market crashing, that's an unavoidable problem to have, but this is why these videos, I guess, are very important for you to understand and listen to. Do a bit of your own research, share this video around and others like this to help people educate and de-risk. That's a big part of it. You obviously want to invest as much money as you are willing to lose, as they typically say, and not understanding it enough, guys. It doesn't have to be difficult to understand. You buy the quality coins. I don't know, what's a quality coin? Well, I think I do a pretty good job on the channel to explain what quality coins are, and then just simply set your sell levels up. It'll take you 4, 5, 6 hours on the weekend. I know it sucks not hanging out with friends or family, having a beer, having a laugh, but this is your potential financial freedom. Even if you don't make much money, it's better than what you had before. And that's, I guess, the premise here. So guys, thank you all. Buckle yourselves in. I'm not saying this is financial advice. This is not guaranteed. We work off data, and the data is telling us, prepare yourselves. It's going to be a good year. Thanks all. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.